You may not recognize Billy Gardell anymore. The star of the hit shows Bob Hart's Abishola and Mike and Molly is in the midst of a life-changing weight loss journey, and we are thrilled Billy has made time to join us before his upcoming performance at McCurdy's Comedy Theater in Sarasota. Billy, welcome.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I tell you what, I've been so impressed by your honesty and how open you've been about your weight loss journey. And so I was wondering if we could start at what made the difference this time? What have you done? Yeah, what have you done differently this time?
Well, when I did this, I had some health problems that were happening to me. I developed type 2 diabetes and had some problems. My heartbeat was way too high. I think my resting heartbeat at one point was 130. That's sitting still. It's
Wow.
now 68, if that gives you kind of perspective. And then I had some blood pressure things happening. And so for the type 2 diabetes, I went on Ozempic before they knew it was a weight loss drug. They
Hmm.
didn't realize it did that yet. It was just for diabetes. And there was a year of that. And then all of a sudden, my doctor was like, we might need you to put you on a cholesterol pill. And we might need to put you on a blood pressure pill. And I just thought, let me look at some other options because I'd rather not be taking 12 medicines if I don't have to. I'm not against that. But I mean, if I can prevent it, then why don't I? And so I had to kind of explore that. And I had a friend go through bariatric surgery, and he really had amazing results. And then, so I started looking into that. And then I went to the consultation. I chickened out twice. I like ran out of there like Wile E. Coyote going through a wall. But because I realized that it's only an opportunity. The weight loss drugs, even with the injectables, or whether it's the Atkins diet or your low carb, the carnivore diet, bariatric surgery, whatever you do, what matters is what you do on the other side of your weight loss. It's the consistency after the weight loss. It doesn't matter what you do to get there. If you don't change this, you're going to eat yourself right back into the same old hell. I mean, I gained and lost the same 30 pounds for 20 years, and I was already obese. So it was really a struggle for me. So when I realized what I had to commit to after the surgery, and I looked at the surgery for weight loss as a bridge and more of a beginning instead of a solution,
Right.
I was able to kind of change my brain towards what I was going to have to do and be consistent after that. And, I worked with a nutritionist for the first 2 years. It'll be 4 years in July. But I worked with a nutritionist once a week and just spoke very openly. I love her. Her name's Terry Hublich, and you can find her on Instagram. And she really goes at it from the emotional connection you had to food, the comforting of food and what you think you're doing to reward yourself, but you're actually punishing yourself. So we would start from that and build a consistent habit because it's the relationship. I always say the fat Hulk is still in here. He's always saying, I'm cutting a carrot. He's like, pizza. I'm like, no, we're not doing it. So it was about changing my mindset. And now I just follow my routine every day. I get my water, I get my vitamins, I get my electrolytes. I get a protein shake in to make sure I'm getting the right amount of proteins. And I eat, chicken and fish and veg. I have to eat like all the people I used to make fun of, basically, which is how funny God is. But that's what I did. And it's the consistency of that change after the surgery that is the real beginning because it's a window. 1 in 4 people get this surgery and they get big again because you got to deal with what's between your ears. And I think that's what.
Yeah, I heard you in an interview talking about how you really had to change the way you thought of food, and that was a real, I'll say, an emotional, mental, uh, mental work that you had to do to think of it as fuel and not as a
Oh,
comfort tool.
right. I completely stole that from my nutritionist. She said food is fuel. It's not a reward, it's not comfort, and it's not a coping mechanism. And until you understand that, you're never going to make a change. You have to accept that at your molecular level. And if you can accept that, then you can decide what goes in your mouth and maybe speak about, like I grew up in a house like we had a good day, let's eat. We had a bad day, let's eat. It was always that. So the idea of going, all right, pizza's not a reward, it's a treat once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, and I'll have a slice or two and I'm done, where I used to eat the whole pizza. But the consistency, you have to outnumber your bad days with your good days. And that's what really helped me kind of put it into perspective. Like, I need to put in 6 good days, and then maybe at one meal, I can have a bite of something that was a little decadent. And I didn't even do that for the first 2 years. I just wanted to really build in my head, vegetables, nutrition, and healthy low fat meats and protein. I eat a lot of cottage cheese and all that. And I'm not trying to bore you. I'm just saying that was the dial I had to change, because I always thought, I'm crazy. I was like, I'd lose 5 pounds. I'm like, well, we could have ice cream now. I lost 5 pounds.
Yeah.
So you have to really grind that down.
Right.
And then when you get to that goal weight, I put a lock-in number. My lock-in number is 210. And if I get near 210, or if I go above 210, I try to stay like 207, 208. But if I go to 210, then I don't pretend anymore that that's not the direction I'm going, which I used to do all the time. I would
Right.
ignore them, just blow the light. If I see 210, it's all fish and water and cucumbers and tomatoes, and until it's back under where I want it to be. I no longer lie to myself about it, which I used to do a lot.
So, Billy, you've made so many amazing changes, and I have to assume that it's really impacting your comedy, your performance. I'm
Yeah.
thinking back to, like, I huge fan Mike and Molly, and
Thank you.
you would make jokes about your weight.
Sure.
So I assume it's going to
Well,
change your comedy quite a bit.
it did, and in a surprising and wonderful way. I mean, I'm not sure this was the best business decision, but it was the best life for me. Because what I did was I did 2 sitcoms back to back. I did Mike and Molly and Bob Hart's Abishola. I'm
Hmm.
incredibly grateful for both of those experiences. But from year 3 to year 5 of Mike and Molly, or I mean of Bob Hart's Abishola, I stopped doing stand up because COVID had hit and I couldn't tour, because I was at risk because I was heavy. That was the first wave of it. Back then I smoked. I had sleep apnea. I mean, all those things are gone now. But it really woke me up and made me go, you have to make a change here if you want to be here for your kid. Plus, my body was giving out on me. You can
Yeah.
only carry that for so long. So I stopped and just took 3 years and got healthy. I got the surgery and then developed my habits and just did Bob Hart's Abishola and came home. And I thought I was done with stand up. And I think it's once a stand up, always a stand up, because it started to haunt me a little bit. And I said, all right, I'm going to get up there and see. And what I found was, when I left television, I realized most live performance now is driven by social media. So, in order to get a younger crowd coming out, you have to involve yourself in social media. So, I stopped doing it for 3 years. I got to the clubs and realized all the business was on the internet and not from television. So, to build tickets, I had to start over again. And then I made myself unrecognizable. So, I got them right where I want them. But the joy of this, to be able to go out and do this again and make people laugh, is always to me an act of service. At the beginning of my career, it was look at me, look at me, look at me. But as I matured and found some success, I found that the real reward is, and I know it sounds cheesy, but I believe this, is making people laugh, because we need it right now. And so I feel like that's a way I can be of service on the good nights. And I had to learn my energy on stage, because I used to be this big, like I could walk in and be the guy who's like, get out of the way. Now I'm like, I'm sorry, did I bump you? So I had to adjust to that on stage. And in that, I found new writing. Also, my son is now in college, so we're empty nesters. And I talk about that. And I actually talk about defending these kids. I'm tired of adults telling these kids that they're useless and they have no hope. We have an accountability. We're parents. Okay. It's that your job is to let these young people know you're rooting for them. So I adjust for that and I try to address that. And then I talk about, making it to the sweet spot in my marriage. We've been married 25 years and we've made it, and it's really good right now. And I think those messages are nice ones to talk about. At least that, you have to talk about what's happening in your life. And for me, those are my big points.
I love that positive humor. And since you brought up your wife, I
Yes.
imagine you've seen some real benefits in your relationship since your weight loss.
She calls me New Billy, because like say she leaves she's got reading glasses all over the house. They're everywhere, but there's one pair she loves, and she leaves them upstairs sometimes. And I go, I'll go get them, and I run up and get them and come back down, and it amazes both of us. because I used to be at a weight where if I left something upstairs, it was just up there until I got back up there. But I get to go on hikes with her, and we go walking together, and I have such a new gift to be able to move. I mean, I did some bucket list things. I went surfing and I rode a
Oh
horse. I
my
flew
goodness.
flew in a middle seat. These are things that as a heavy person, I could never do that before. And so, besides the health benefits, I'm finding this new freedom of things that I always wanted to do, and now being able to try those things. And I'm trying to talk her into letting me get a motorcycle, but not gonna.
Good luck with that, Billy. And thank you so much again for sharing your weight loss journey with us. You are truly an inspiration. Thank you again. And there are limited tickets still available to see Billy Gardell at McCurdy's Comedy Theater on April 25th and April 26th. Thanks again, Billy.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks for watching. We've got more great content for you, from news to the arts to the environment. So be sure to like and subscribe to WGCU's YouTube channel and follow us on our social media platforms for the stories that matter to you.